Let's go. Woo. YouTube, what is up? We are back. A little bit of a hiatus since Gilman days. Gilman days got the best of me. We were running on 4 hours of sleep most nights, 4 bowls of Reese's Pieces, and a lot of softball and pickleball games. I think we played 14 pickleball games and 4 or 5 total softball games in the outfield in a weekend where it was like 98 degrees outside. We were cooked, man. We were cooked. And our whoop recovery scores were not very good this weekend. So, but the weekend went well. We took 4th in pickleball, which was impressive for our first tournament. There was a massive step up when we played those top 3 teams. Our first like 5 or 6 games were against teams that were like pretty casual, and that's probably our level is like that 3-0, 3-5 level. And we were casual, but just grinding the games out. And then the team that ended up winning it kicked the shit out of us, and they told us they just got back from winning a tournament in Iowa, so there was some travel pickleball team. It wasn't even close. It was I watched them play, and I was like, this is what happens when we bring our tournament team to like a Carney tournament against guys that don't play, and the frustration level just because it is such a different level of play. But they put us in our place. They humbled us real quick. But we ended up with 4th, which is all right. Then Friday night we had the home run derby. Got the dub there. There was a lot of drunk people in the home run derby, but we did get the dub. Last year we took 2nd to my buddy Hunter Beeler. This year we finally got it done, and it was a fun little tournament there. And then we played 5 games, won our first 3, lost our second 2. I played with a group of hometown guys, a lot of young guys that I mean, they're 18 years old, so literally 10 years older than most of them. I was the second oldest guy on the team, which is wild. I've never been the second oldest guy on any team. But me and my buddy Hunter, and then it was his cousin, and then all of his cousin's friends. And we had a pretty good squad. Those kids are going to be ballers in a couple of years. But lost to a team that ended up winning it, and then lost to a team we shouldn't have. And the kids were... They had their highs and they had their lows. I think they were a little bit hungover on Sunday, and they showed. They did not perform to the maximum ability. So we'll get them to lock in next year, hopefully, and see if we can make a little run next year. But it was a blast. It was super fun. And played league night Monday and Tuesday, and we're finally back in action here on Wednesday. We got league tonight, but it's pouring out, so I think league might be canceled tonight. So we're going to rip it. We got snatches and upper body lifts today, and we'll get after it. Let's go. If league night tonight is canceled, it's going to blow I think it's like I don't even know. I think it was 28-day bender of softball games every single day. We have BP every single day, but we're on a 28-day bender of every single day. We either had a league night or a tournament, and today it's in compromise. It might be ruined tonight because of the rain. So, but I kind of need it, dude. My hips are destroyed. My body is just pretty beat up. Last week we only got 3 training sessions in because of the amount of softball that we had. We missed our snatch session last week because of that. We actually got that day in the gym, but the ceilings weren't high enough to snatch at that low ceiling gym, so we're gonna get it today. But body's a little beat up, but we're still gonna grind. Let's get it. Oh yeah, today might be one of those through the motions types day with those snatches. Make the executive decision right now just so I don't get really, really pissed at myself for sucking at snatches today. We're gonna turn these into split snatches, so we're gonna do wheel Ratels, split snatch, stick in there, so I'm gonna call them wheel Ratels. I don't know if other people do them, I'm sure they do. But we're gonna do couple warm-ups, and then we'll start hitting our split snatches. I like adding in just a little bit of variety again on days where I just know it's probably not gonna be there, right? We don't have that juice today, a little bit beat up today. The swing, again, softball's been fucking crushing it, but the body is, again, taking the beating from softball. So we'll add that little variety here in the lift just so we're not pissed off and trying to run our head through a wall in a day when the PR is not gonna come. I'm gonna call that early, and let's get after it. That set felt a little better. Maybe it's just a warm-up issue. Let's go. Listening to Buck Cherry's 15 album, one of the best like rock albums out there, just all the way through. Obviously he has his hits on there, but I honestly like the non-hits of the album the best. My dad said this like once when I was a kid, but it's like you can tell the like power of a musician, the skill set of a musician by not their hits, but like if the whole album is good or not. And I think this is one of my favorite rock albums. I just got a surround system in my room. I've splurged on it. I'm trying to make my room a little bit nicer place to be in, just because I spend a lot of time there working. And got a surround sound system in there, and this song popped up, and I was been listening to the whole album. It's a banger. Recommend it heavily. Let's get it. All right, last muscle snatch, kind of warm-up series here, and then we're just gonna rip into these split snatches. Let's go. All right, belts in this setup, 3 of them. Let's get it. Ooh. Ooh, those feel spicy. Ooh. Let's go. Got to do more pulls on the ground. I like these. I think the hinge is feeling decent recently. Like not the hinge, but the hang, feeling decent. But my timing off the ground is a little messed up. And these actually feel kind of nice. Like, get to delay that timing, get that hip through, and before you do a split, otherwise you're gonna run your knee into the bar. Kind of like that. Ooh, let's go. I just called the cancellation line for softball, and they say we're still on. The parking lot's flooded right now, which means there's no way these fields aren't flooded. These fields do not hold water very well. So our 29-day bender might be able to be continued tonight, which would be sick. Let's rip some heavy snatches before that happens so we can hit some nukes tonight. Ooh, that was sloppy. Oh, ew. Ooh. Oh, this is weird. It's like delays my pull, which is good for me. But I'm trying to it's like goofy getting underneath that. I really like this though. I just suck at it. Feels cool. Oh yeah, knee touch. Call it legit. Those feel smooth though. I like that. Let's go a couple singles, then we'll get the benching. Let's go. I was really feeling myself with this gym outfit today. I was walking outside. There's a girl at the gas station, older lady, that said she loved the color coordination of my outfit. Thought I had it on point. And then I walk into my gym parking lot, and there was 2 Chads. I mean, just the most like St. Thomas looking, like preppy looking kids of all time, wearing the same exact shorts as me. So that hurt the ego a little bit, put me in my place a little bit. I realized I'm a Chad. So we got that going for us. Let's rip this single. Let's go. Oh, that was easy. Let's go. Woo! Yesterday I was on Wilbur Tell's. He doesn't really have a podcast, but we did a podcast together on his YouTube series. So if you haven't watched it yet, you should go watch that. But it's all on our experiences with the strength conditioning world. And the main takeaway we both had with it, and we kind of went into it with this kind of thought process, is a lot of the stuff we talk about is kind of bullshit. Like a lot of the 4 coactive models and the big planning and big picture stuff in the college world is not really applicable, right? I think a lot of times we talk about how can we make everybody cohesive, how can we do this, and a lot of it kind of falls on the strength conditioning coach, a lot of it falls on the sports performance person, and it falls on them, and no change is ever really made. And I use the example of St. Thomas, where I was at, where they just got last year a bunch of GPS units, right? So and they talked to me about getting GPS units when I was there, and I was like, GPS units are great, they're amazing, catapults, like having that data is phenomenal, right? There's no negative to having that data, other than it's not going to make any difference because the coaches and the ATs aren't going to change anything with this data, right? They're going to keep practicing the way they want to practice. ATs are going to keep rehabbing the way that they rehab. And for the most part, strength coaches are probably going to keep training the way that they train. Or if they make their slight kind of shifts in their programming, it's really not going to affect the big part, which is practicing the same way that everybody's been practicing for forever, right? And so they got these catapults. They were all excited. They keep posting about all the data. And I've gotten a message from an AT there and a message from a bunch of the athletes there about how hamstring injuries have never been worse, right? And it just kind of confirms all the points. It's like you can have all these fancy bells and whistles and you can do all these things and you can preach how it's for the athlete. But if the athletes are still getting injured, especially if they're getting injured at a higher rate, and we're not actually changing practice plans and we're not making an impact on it, like none of it really matters, right? And that's really what, like, I had to leave the college. I mean, there was a lot of reasons why I wanted to leave the college, but one of the biggest reasons is it just felt like I was studying for all these things. I was putting in all this work. I was becoming a better coach and making zero impact on what I wanted to make an impact in, right? So whereas in the private sector, I'm actually working for the athletes, right? I'm not working for an AT. I'm not working for a sport coach. If I'm doing catapult data, I can actually change my program and change their field work until they get to their team. And it just seems much more rewarding. It seems like I'm moving the needle much more with these athletes and being much more real with these athletes. And I think a lot of times in the strength conditioning world, in the college sector, we get stuck working for ATs, we get stuck working for sport coaches, and the people that you should be working for, which is the athletes right in front of you, trying to make them better, trying to improve their lives, I think it kind of gets put in the back burner. And we kind of wrap all these things up in, oh, I got these GPS units to keep my athletes healthy. I got these GPS units to make sure we're getting our athletes faster. And like we say all these things, but it's like, okay, well, I'm getting the back end. And it's not St. Thomas specifically. This is kind of everywhere. It's like, okay, I'm getting all this back end information that injuries are still rising, right? And hamstring injuries are super high there, right? So obviously it's not for the athlete, right? That data is for you to say, I have this data as a sport coach, so it's not my fault, right? Like I tried, right? And part of that is the game. I get that it's part of the game, but it's just not a game that I wanted to play. So we go into it for like an hour and a half on Will's podcast if you want to look at that. But I just think unless you really, and this is the power of being somebody like Will, the power of having a private sector on the side of it is you can actually say what you want to say. And I think one of the most dangerous things in the college world is when you do work for the college coaches, you do work for these ATs, you do work for these administrators that don't have the athlete's best interest in mind all the time, and you don't have a secondary source of income, whenever they say something, you kind of just have to go with it. So you can bring up this GPS unit and they say, well, we're still going to practice hard with these guys today. You can't really say much because if they take away your salary, you're kind of fucked, right? Whereas if you have a secondary source of income, you can be like, well, actually, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And at least you can at least speak your mind, right? Rather than kind of folding to the salary that you need to fold to and playing that political game, which is just not my favorite thing in the world, right? So I think if you want what's best for the athletes in mind, you have to set yourself up in the power hierarchy, which is the college strength conditioning world, to where you're not getting ran over by the sport coaches, you're not getting ran over by the administrators. Otherwise, these two power struggles right there are going to run over your athletes, and then you're kind of that middleman that has to watch your athletes get ran over, and it's just not something I'm interested in. But anyways, go listen to that podcast. We had a whole hour-long talk on it. It's worth it, I think. Let's get this. Oof. Woo. One or two more sets. Let's go. All right, let's get this. Here we go. Oh, we got that. Come on. Ah, come on. Let's go. Woo! All right, we're going to hit this again without touching our knee to the ground. Let's do it. Let's go. Woo! All right, we pulled our head out of our ass and got a pretty good snatch there. I'm proud of that one. That's pretty close to my all-time snatch PR. So cool that we did that in a split stance. Snatch there, honestly, again, that's like the power of the variations there. Just that mental boost. I think if I was regular snatching today, I would have felt like shit the whole time and just bending my head about it, and probably not got anywhere near what I got there. And feel like I got a good dub there. That was sweet. Pumped about that. We're gonna hit 15 rep maxes on the bench. Gonna rip 15 rep maxes this week. Supposed to hit 15 rep maxes next week, but it's state week next week, so I might do a little peak. Not gonna cut any days, but we're gonna make it a little bit lower rep scheme, but have this week be as like a high rep scheme. Again, I treat these high rep weeks as a little bit of deload, so we'll do really low reps. So last week was 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks for 3 rep maxes, we're really pushing 3 rep maxes. This week we'll come back with a little bit of variety, hit the 15 rep maxes. get some hypertrophy stimulus in there, obviously get some strength work done, build up some of the like armor building stuff, and treat it more as a deload without really like lowering our intensity, but just lowering the total amount of load. And I think spreading out the load like that has been very beneficial for our athletes, setting a lot of PRs without being in pain. Slow cook it maybe a little bit longer than if we were through rep maxing every single week. But again, I think the slow cook process is the way to go, because I think a lot of times when you don't slow cook and you have athletes that aren't really taking care of their recovery and can't handle the load. I think I handle 1 rep maxes. I used to do like a 1 rep max every single day, and I handle that pretty well. I know my body can handle that. I don't get as beat up as a lot of athletes, but I know a lot of athletes where if they go into that 1 rep max, 3 rep max range, kind of just crush themselves. They push a little bit too much, they miss too many reps, and I think giving them some breaks, some deloads in quotations with the high rep schemes, high rep maxes, while still giving them something to reach for. And again, you get that variety of they have no idea what their 15 rep max is, so they can win the day, has been really beneficial. So we got wide grip bench here, 15 rep max. Let's get it. In between these, we got plyo push-ups and some fast spinal movements here. This 15 rep max is gonna get me here real quick, that last one. Pumping, baby, let's get it. Woo, cardio, let's go. Our bender is officially over. Softball was just canceled officially, super last second. They didn't actually cancel it either. It was kind of weird, but one of our subs just went to the field and nobody was there playing the early games, so we have the late games. So not really sure what happened there, but they didn't update anybody, so I'm sure there's a bunch of people pretty pissed off that they drove to the field and nobody was there. But our bender's over. We're gonna finish up this lift, get to a sauna here, and rip from there. Let's get it. Let's go. All right, last set here, 15 rep max. That last one was pushing that rep max, probably 8 or 9 out of 10 RPE wise. I like that wide grip. I like introducing the wide grip bench press on higher rep schemes for a lot of athletes. A lot of athletes with shorter arms, a lot of even just like offense and defensive line really struggle with that wide grip. They're so tricep based, and this is myself, but they're so tricep based, they're so in that a lot of times that pec doesn't get a lot of work in, and getting them to stretch it out, get in that deep range of motion with that shoulder, you kind of feel like almost too much of a stretch. It's like pushing it just to the edge, especially when you go heavier. And I like introducing some of these like movements at a higher rep scheme, a lower intensity, just get that shoulder exposed, that pec exposed to those longer, deeper ranges of motion coming back in. Obviously, I mean, it's a shorter range of motion there, but it's a little bit longer in that pec, a little bit more of a stretch in that shoulder. And I think it's a cool way to get athletes into these extreme range of motion. Same thing with like a Jefferson curl, where we're gonna go a little bit lighter with a little bit more reps. So they still feel like they get some work in, but I'm not gonna 3 rep max them into a Jefferson right away. So a lot of times that's how we're introduced movements in that like 1x20 style, 15 rep style, just get them used to and exposed to those different ranges of motion. And I think it's one of the best ways to stay out of injury, right? Gradual progressions into movements that you haven't mastered yet, but you're gonna be required to go into, right? So football, you're gonna get stuck into some of these longer positions. And I think just being generally prepared for positions. If you're uncomfortable in a position in a gym, we should really build that up. That's probably telling us something that there's a weakness there that we aren't very good at, and we need to build that position up. And building up those positions, even if it is a 15 rep max, rather than like just continuing to rep out 3 rep maxes, probably is gonna do you a lot more good in the long term than continuing to build up the things that you're already good at, right? Go from shit to suck, not good to great. Let's go. Nice. All right. Let's get to some of the accessories that we're doing. We got to be at the sauna in 5 minutes, so we're going to kind of speed rush through some of these things and go from there. All right. Then rapid spinal movement today. We got the PVC pipe. We're going to go wide stance. We're going side to side, rapid rotations. Really, really like this one. Open up that rib cage. getting that spine moving. I think doing it at higher velocities is important. I think getting the range of motion is important, obviously building up in higher velocities. But I think there's something about that higher velocity, just the way you feel and move when you're done with it. And some of the things that kind of like pop out of it and you're like, oh, that ribcage entered a different range of motion there. I think there's a lot of really good stuff there. So going as fast as possible. Let's get it. Let's go. Plyo push-ups next. Nothing crazy special about these. We just got lateral side to side. I think I talked about this in previous videos a ton, but just trying to expose. It doesn't have to be all of your program, but trying to get just on your radar those hands and wrists exposed to all of the different ways that force can be put into them. And I think going lateral in some of your plyo push-ups, even doing some rolls in your plyo push-ups, doing depth drops in your plyos is a really nice thing and super easy thing to pair with your bench press, as in like upper body power, upper body plyo type movement. So let's do them. Set number 5 here, back and forth. Boom. All right. Then we got pinch block. I'm gonna do these and some curls, then we're gonna get out of here. These pinch blocks, kind of buy them. I mean, they're pretty cheap on Amazon, this whole setup here. Just throw a plate on here, pinching, grabbing up. I think if you're a contact sport athlete, you need to build up those hands, you need to build up those wrists, and I think just sprinkling in some of those old strongman type lifts is definitely worth it. And it's really hard to work some of this stuff without some of this cool, like special equipment. But for the athletes today, we had 50 reps here. We just kind of built up. It wasn't 50 straight, it's just 50 total reps. So like they kind of did other stuff, hit like 10 reps here, would add some weight and go. But you just got this thick block here, some weight on, pinching, coming back up, nice and money. Going here, gonna push the weight here, get 10 reps, then we'll build up some weight. Woo! Yeah, even that for 10 was spicy. Nice. Add some weight, hit some curls. Let's go. Last set of these here, out of the 10. Well, we got 2 10s. We had it 25 of the 10 last set that I showed, and then 25 with 2 10s. I think it's gonna be a little bit of grinder. Let's get it. In between these, we've been ripping curls, so I'll hit here, I'll finish up my curl set, then we'll have a little talky talk, then we'll go sauna. I'm 10 minutes late to my sauna. I am sorry, Embrace North. Let's go. Oh my. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's spicy. Woo. Holy shit. Ooh. It is crazy how weak your fingers are. They get exposed here. Woo! Yeah, that is something. If you build up, you get my grandpa hands, big ones. Excited to work on that one. Let's do some curls. Let's get outy. Let's go. So in between those, we've just been doing pyramid style, 5x5 curls. We got 2 sets of 5 left, 50s, 55s. Then we out ski. Let's get it. Let's go. One more set. Last set here, then we're out ski. Let's get it. Let's go. All right, we'll talk, then we'll get out of here. Let's go. All right, YouTube, that is the day. Great little ripper. Proud of those snatches. Good little bench series. Got some arms in. Really big fan of that pinch grip. My hands feel on fire. Elbow felt really good on those actually. I think building up some of that stuff probably helped the elbow pain just a little bit. Obviously, if you go a little bit too intense, all of those flexors of the elbow are gonna get a little bit pissed off, but I think just working the hand in a little bit different spot felt really good. It probably helped the deadlift a lot too if my grip wasn't just a little bitch grip. Been reading Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Just a book I haven't read. Obviously, I know it's a pretty famous book that a lot of people have read. I've never read it before. and I know the author, I think he's gone kind of off the deep end, allegedly. I haven't really dove into his stuff, but I think with some of the recent political stuff going on, I think he went off the deep end, if I remember right. Not totally sure, but I swear people have mentioned that he went a little crazy. But one of the things he talks about in the book, and this is one of the craziest things I've ever read, was growth hormone and how it's raised when you are loved and you are surrounded with people that you love. It was nuts. He was showing this study. It was a 1970 study. I should send it to Chad Seeley to see if it's actually a real study or if it's just something they put in the book, but I haven't seen it. I posted it on Instagram and nobody called it out, so maybe it is real. But it was like a 1977 study of this kid that was from a bad home, was struggling from, it's this disease where the kids stop growing because their parents neglect them, which is wild in the first place. But he gets to this hospital, his growth hormone levels are unbelievably low. He grows a bond with this nurse who like cuddles and plays with him and is like gets super attached. And within 100 days, his growth hormone levels double at the same calorie level and same nutrition levels he was having before. So he wasn't malnourished, but he's with this nurse that cares for him, loves him, and his growth hormone levels double. This nurse goes on vacation. He's still in the hospital in the same exact spot, getting the same exact food, nutrition, everything like that. Nurse goes on vacation. His growth hormone levels plummet. Nurse comes back. The growth hormone levels double again. And it's kind of cool. One of the things that he quotes in the book is, man can't survive on milk alone. And how we need love to kind of have the body function in some of these things, and how we kind of explain away some of this stuff with science. And just staying out of the woo-woo stuff, I just think it's really cool that if you want gains, if you want to be strong, if you want to like do all the things that you want to do, I think getting the other aspects of your life together are really, really important, which is like a community, physical contact with your community, right? I think he talks about touch and physical contact are one of the key contributors to growth hormone being high levels and at normal levels for people. And I think a lot of stuff in our society, very isolated, it takes some of this stuff away, and we see people that are struggling with depression and anxiety and all these things, where if these chemical imbalances are caused by this isolation and this growth hormone is dropping and you feel like shit all the time, it makes sense, right? So I think there's a lot of benefit to just trying to get the other aspects. I think back to like the most ripped I've ever been in life is whenever I'm surrounded by the best social circle, right? And the most jacked I've been, the best I've ever felt is whenever my social circle is put together and well, right? And I just thought it was super cool. And it's obviously N of one for me, but all the studies kind of point, and it's always surrounded. I've always thought about that. It's like every time I've had like even whether it's a solid relationship, whether it's a group of people that I'm surrounding myself with, and obviously the sun is a big part of it too. It's like, because it's weird in Minnesota where it's like, you have less activities when the sun is gone and it's winter, so you're more isolated and you have lack of sun, so you have kind of two variables there. But I think back to like winter, when you're like isolated in winter, that's like when I get the chubbiest I've ever been, the less like gains, the less I recover. And it's kind of crazy. It has nothing to do with the training program, it has nothing to do with nutrition. It's like all these other outside influences. So I thought that was kind of a cool thought process. If you want gains, probably go cuddle and have a good friend group and tell good jokes and be with people that you enjoy being with, and that'll probably lead to better gains than a lot of the stuff that we talk about. And we just don't talk about that stuff because it's a little bit woo-woo-y. But I thought it was a really cool study. It's a really cool book. I appreciate you guys watching, and let's get after it tomorrow. Let's go.